Hello and welcome to Reddit Reads. Please smash that like button and subscribe. I wanted to get him back for 12 years. School had a problem with kids asking for permission to go to the bathroom or to go outside and drink water from the water fountain and them goofing around or meeting other kids to play. The blade battles really popular back then. So our teacher created a new rule that one kid at a time gets to go to the bathroom and that we must all have water bottles with us and refill them before class. But every day a kid would take a plastic bag and collect the bottles to refill them at the water fountain. Besides the protests from some of the kids, this rule was approved and we had to oblige. This is where I have to introduce Sheldon. He was a nice kid, really smart, and he really liked jokes and pranks, especially if I was the one who got pranked by him. He is probably the only reason I enjoyed being to that school, since every day he would come up with something new to make each day interesting. Now that you can kinda imagine how Sheldon was, I have to remind you of the rule. Each day a new student would have to collect all the water bottles and refill them. The first time Sheldon was responsible for this, he collected all the bottles, and when he reached me he smirked and took my bottle quickly out of my hands and ran outside. It kinda surprised me that he smirked at me like that, but I didn't care that much at the time. He eventually returned with a plastic bag full of water bottles and started giving them back to us until he reached me and handed me an empty water bottle. This is the conversation that ensued. "Sheldon, here you go." Me, "What the frick, dude, it's empty." I actually said frick. Sheldon, giggling, "Oops, sorry, I forgot, I guess you're not that important." Everybody laughed at this, and the teacher shushed them because we were still in class, and went to sit back at his seat, smiling and keeping eye contact with me the whole time. I was pissed and desperately wanted revenge, so the next time it was my turn to fill the bottles I was planning to do the same thing to him. But he was smart for an 11-year-old and obviously knew I would be planning something, so when I reached his desk and asked him for his bottle, he said, "No thanks, I have a second one." He actually brought 2 bottles with him to avoid getting pranked the same way, and that pissed me off more than before. I knew I had to get him back some way, I just didn't know how. Years passed with me never forgetting about the prank. We went to high school where the rule didn't apply anymore, and I would occasionally politely ask to go to the water fountain and then asking the class if anyone had a bottle for me to refill for them. Sheldon always had a second, and he would announce he had a second while smiling at me, knowing what I had been planning for all those years. The revenge. 5 years passed since we had graduated. Many of my classmates stayed back in the island we were living, except some not related to the story, Sheldon and me. We have lost touch a long time ago, and I had since moved on with my life. A friend of mine knew I wasn't in a good place economically and said he had a job for me as a waiter in a restaurant at the city we were living. I obviously excitedly accepted the offer and went to that restaurant the next week to start working. And there he was, Sheldon, sitting in a table drinking wine and talking to the other 2 people on the table. He hadn't changed that much. He was still that nerdy-looking blonde skinny white boy he always was. I immediately wanted to go and greet him, but I changed my mind since I remembered that I still hadn't got him back for what he did then. I started working there every day for a week and seeing him occasionally. I always tried to avoid him so he wouldn't recognize me. I was working there for probably a month until one day I saw him again with 4 others coming in and sitting at a table. I knew I finally had my chance to get back at him. I went to the table and took their orders. They all said what they wanted, but I was more interested in getting Sheldon's order, and so for the first time I was there, I spoke to him. "Me? And for you, sir?" "Sheldon, I will have only water for tonight and the number 4, please. I have to drive these idiots back." Me, chuckling, "Okay, sir." I went in the kitchen to give the order to the chefs and to warn them about what I was about to do. I went to the fridge, grabbed a water bottle, emptied it, and went back to the table. Me, "Here you go, sir." I placed the empty bottle on the table. Sheldon, surprised and quite angrily, "What the hell?" Me, "Oh, sorry, sir. I guess you were not that important to get water." I started grinning. Sheldon, "What the beep do you mean?" Him finally realizing, "You mother beep." Me, "Nice to see you again, beep." I said this while laughing. "I finally got you." Sheldon, Holy beep, I should have known it was you. The beard threw me off. I couldn't recognize you. Friend 1, what is going on here? Sheldon introduced me to his friends and let them in on what was actually happening. I was so happy to see him I almost forgot I was working there. After the introductions were done, I went back to work. He gave me his phone number, and after my shift, we went out drinking and remembering the past. We have been best friends since, and he hasn't tried anything for the past 2 months.